Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Inside the Picton. Yeah, we keep it rolling. Spring, summer, winter, and fall. We are back. And with that said, before I get to the crew, let's get to the topics. We're going to talk about the Chicago Bears and the Parisolympics. What's that got to do with it? Trust me, I'll tell you in a moment. And we're going to revisit Stetson Bennett, is what we're going to do, and talk about the Rams quarterback room. We're going to talk about the Arthur Ashe recipient at the espys, Stevegleason, Josh Jacobs in Green Bay, and of course, Drew Lock. With that said, and Zachwilson, with that said, introduce the crew. To my left, Candy Ebling. Welcome back on this show, Candy.
Thanks, Scott. It's good to be here. Let's talk some football.
You better believe we will do exactly that. Okay, with that said, Bo.
How's it going, guys?
Good to have you back. And the coach, Bono.
What's up, Scott? How you doing, Mel, Bo, Candy?
Glad to have you back, Coach. And last but not least, the running back, the one I give the rock, Belfard Jr.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Good to see you.
All right, we got somebody in the chat room already. Jay, Robichaux, Bo, Do. I don't know who that is, but I don't know how good my pronunciation was, right? But if you can read, that's good enough for me. All right, let's talk about the most timely subject that you can come up with. Chicago Bears are granting defensive back Jonathanowens time off for training camp so he can watch his wife Simonebiles compete in the Parisolympics. You can rest assured that mattebeflus, was excited to see this, so why not give him a few days off? So, with that said, we'll start off with you, Candy, on this one. What do you think about the gesture by a team that you really can't stand, the Bears?
I think it's great because I think you're supporting. You're allowing an athlete to support his wife, who is an athlete who's doing something. And granted, I get it. She's been to the Olympics before, but she is excelling in her sport. And for her husband to be able to take time off from training to go watch her in the Olympics, I think that's a good gesture, class move by the Bears.
I know that pains for you to say it since you're a Packer person, but at least
I recognize when something's classy, whether it's no matter who it is.
Well, you did there with those comments. Bo, what do you know about this one?
Yeah, no, it's a good move. Obviously, he's familiar with the system as well. So, I mean, it's not like the early part of training camp is going to be a huge benefit to him anyway. If he was a first-year rookie or something, it might look a little bit different. But, he's been within that system. So I think it's great they were able to let him, go do that.
Coach?
Yes, classy move. It's the right move. We had a similar situation in 2012. I was with the Jaguars, and we had a corner by the name of Aaron Ross, who we had signed as a free agent from the Giants, and his wife was a 400-meter sprinter. We gave him time off, and we actually Coach Mularky actually broadcasted the race on the Jumbotron, and we went and watched it as a team. But Aaron was able to go watch his wife compete. So classy move, good thing to do. NFL seasons, I know as precious as they are, they come around every year. The Olympics is only once every 4 years. So good.
Yeah. How did you like working with Mike Mularky?
I liked Mike. It was unfortunately a one and done season for us, but very organized, great human being, and very good offense, very creative offensive mind.
Okay, yeah, in fact, I remember when they visited the Dolphins, I covered that game here as well, so it was pretty interesting. All right, now some thoughts about the Bears.
From a player standpoint, I it's nice, I think, but this kid, who's an undrafted free agent when he came out, I think he spent a few years on the practice squad. Went to a small school, some smaller college. He was with the Packers last year, if I'm not mistaken, and I think this is his first year with the Bears. With this, to me, it's kind of saying we really don't need you. We don't care. Go do what you want to do. I mean, Coach knows better than me, and he's in those meetings, unlike myself. For me as a player, I like practice. And now camp, I would be a little leery about somebody getting my reps because you don't have a job when you come back. So,
Yeah.
on one hand, yeah, it's great. Comes around once every 4 years. This is her third Olympics. So, I know she got married the last time she was at the Olympics, but this is her third Olympics. If I could jet there and jet back, there's a way I can get there, get back to practice. I don't know how many practices she's going to miss. I don't know. I guess you could say it's a spicy move, but on the other hand, to me, it's just like, hey, we don't care what you want to do. This is his first year with the club. I don't know what his contract looks like. I don't know if he's got guaranteed money. I don't know. So, I mean, for me to really give you an intelligent answer, I'd have to have a little bit more information as to whether or not that's a classy move or not.
Let me interject that he is excused from July 29th through August 3rd, and he's expected back at practice on August 4th. Women's gymnastics qualifying begins July 28th, where Biles will contend for 4 events: the all-around vault, uneven bars, and balance beam. She's already a 3-time Olympian and reigning all-around champion. So he's going to miss like a week.
She's not. Well, she's the reigning not the Olympic champion, but you're talking about reigning like world champion, all-around champion, or
she's 3-time Olympian, is a reigning all-around champion, and has the top U.S. score on every event except uneven bars.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's go to the chat room. We're going to start off with Feather Freebird. Happy Tuesday, everyone. And Candy, you can read them and then post them as such.
Yep. Classy move and a loving move by a husband. Good evening, Adam. Adam, great shows last night. Hopefully another banger tonight. Joshua Dorr, the Motor City Madhouse.
There you go. All right. We're going to delay our station identification. 1 or 2 more topics into it is what we're going to do. So obviously, look at you, Bo. You got somebody out there. Joshua Dorr, you're wearing on this guy. I don't know how, but you're doing it anyways. Good stuff. So let's go ahead.
Haven't seen him in a while.
Yeah, well, yeah, Joshua Dorr, he gets around, that's for sure. He gets some frequent flyer miles to all these different podcasts out there. All right, moving on, revisiting the Rams quarterback situation. They're talking about Stetson Bennett. He stepped away from football last year to address mental health. Let's talk about the quarterback room with the Rams. You got Stafford, Jimmy Garoppolo. Is that a good balance, Candy? Well, Candy, you can wait afterwards, okay? We'll go to Bo this time.
I mean, as much hate as Jimmy G gets, for whatever reason, when he's on a roster, it falls in a win column. He doesn't necessarily have to put up great stats. Somehow they win. So, I mean, it's as good as it can be. At the end of the day, if your backup is in, something bad happened. Because if Stafford isn't out there on the field, he got hurt. Because there's no way Jimmy G's beating him out. So, yeah, I think it's great if he can stay on the bench.
Okay. Mel?
I think that Stetson was going to make that team last year and win the backup job. I thought that he played well enough to do that, and then all of a sudden, this came out of the blue that he was excused from camp or whatever, excused from the team to deal with a personal issue. Say what you want about Stetson. I mean, all he did was win at the University of Georgia. All he did was win. And Matthew, he's getting up there. He's getting a little long in the tooth. There might be a couple games where he's banged up, where he may not be able to go out there. I tried out Stetson Bennett over Jimmy Garoppolo because if you try Jimmy out there, he's more than likely going to get hurt. And it's not to say that he's not productive. He's very productive. He's just fragile.
Did they bring Stetson back? I thought he wasn't on their roster.
Yeah, no, they brought him back.
Oh, they did?
He was a non-football injury, or last year they let him.
I just didn't realize they brought him back. So he is the third quarterback on that roster.
Yeah, that is correct. Yeah, you know what?
Okay.
Yeah,
then, based on that, then yeah, I think he beats Jimmy G out for that second spot.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Coach, you're on to something. I'll let you continue with your thought. Go ahead.
Well, I think they'll give that kid plenty of looks during preseason. They obviously know what Matt's capable of. Most starting quarterbacks don't play a lot in the preseason, especially veteran quarterbacks like Matt. They have an idea of what Garoppolo can do. You know, the guy that they haven't seen in an NFL game yet is Stetson Bennett. So, you know, I'd expect him to get a very heavy workload, and so they'll be able to find out exactly what they have.
Okay, Candy, finish off the topic. Well, I'll say this before I turn over to Candy. I definitely do believe you have a good balance in that quarterback room. You have a KG veteran like Stafford, who's won the Super Bowl. You got Stetson Bennett, won the national championship with Georgia, and ironically, both are Georgia Bulldogs. And Jimmy Garoppolo has been a journeyman who's been around and has done a lot of winning. But that said, Candy, now you can figure out the topic. Finish off topic.
So it came out a couple hours ago that Matthew Stafford agreed to a restructured deal. Now the terms have not been disclosed. The 36-year-old Stafford will have $31 million of his salary guaranteed this upcoming season. The two-time Pro Bowler was seeking more guaranteed money in the final 2 years of a 4-year, $160 million extension they signed back in March of 2022. McVay has said that there has been a lot of professionalism during this whole negotiation. So we know Stafford's, you know, the number one. I think bringing Stetson back is a good move because he's young, hungry, and I think he wants to be molded. And I think let's face it, Green Bay has had a lot of success sitting their young quarterbacks, having them watch, you know, their first string good quarterbacks for a while. I think I see Stetson, you know, like you said, a lot of injuries happen to quarterbacks. So you just never know when Stetson might need to be put in there. And I think he gets ahead of Jimmy, even though Jimmy's been a journeyman and been there for how, you know, in the league for as long as he has. But kudos to him for stepping away when he felt he needed to, and kudos for letting him come back and at least compete.
Yeah, if there's anybody out there, and I think Coach Bono will know it more than anybody else, that's capable of molding a quarterback, Sean McVay is definitely it, isn't he, Coach?
Well, that's for. I mean, he definitely knows how to coach that position and put him in a, you know. I mean, Sean's pretty amazing to watch work when it comes to the offense.
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, when you think of Stetson Bennett, like you say, all this guy did was win. I mean, you know, and the fact that he was, you know, able to take a mental health break to get himself back together says a lot about the player itself. All right, Steve O'Kelly Stafford bringing that QB room together. Well, yeah, I guess if she's cooking for him, probably. I don't know what's going on out there out west. All right, one more topic, then we go to a station break. The recipient of the 2024 Arthur Ashe Award at the ESPYs is Stevegleason. So I guess my question to everybody here is, would you put him in the Pro Football Hall of Fame? And you know what, Candy, I'm going to begin with you on this one.
You're going to begin with me on this one?
Yeah, I think so.
Who would I put him in? Let's see. I'm checking out his stats he played. He retired from the NFL after 8 seasons. 8 seasons isn't very long when you think of. I don't know. I mean, can we bypass me? Let's go.
You know what? All right, that's okay. We'll come back to you because you'll have a station break anyways. All right, we'll turn over to Bo though. What do you think, Bo?
You guys are. I just got buffering wheels.
Okay, no big deal. All right, so I'll repeat the question for you, Bo. Okay, So the recipient of the 2024 Arthur Ashe Award from the ESPYs is Stevegleason. Would you put him in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, Bo?
Oh, man, that's tough. Yeah, I don't. Like you want to on the feel-good story end of it.
Right.
I don't know if the stats necessarily would back it up. But, you know, if we've seen anything else, stats don't always matter when it comes to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. So if it was something that the league wanted to make happen, I don't think people would really push back on it.
What do you think?
That's kind of the way I look at that. And on a side note, Comcast, can you fix your stuff so that my stuff doesn't drop out randomly? That would be awesome. Comcast is
There you
watching.
go.
Please fix your stuff.
And make sure you tag them when you share this broadcast so that they know that Bo's not happy with Comcast.
That's right.
All right.
Randy, I know you won't be a sponsor of my show, but come on.
There you go. Give the man some love. Seriously, that's my rant. Coach, what do you think about Gleason?
Well, obviously, you can see the jersey over my left shoulder here. You know how I feel about him. But
yeah, that's true.
Thing we have to remember about Steve Gleason is Steve was an undrafted, he was really a linebacker, undersized linebacker out of Washington State, and really made the roster as a special teams player. That's what Steve was. I mean, I don't know if he would have any stats defensively because I don't remember him actually even playing much on defense, but what he was an extraordinarily great special teams player. He is, the person you see now, even with the ALS, but the mentality, the mind, the spirit, the attitude, the character, though that's always been him. Steve is, he's just always been that guy that everybody in the locker room loved. So he's definitely in my Hall of Fame. I'd say I'd rank him in the top 3 players that most favorite players and people that I've coached, period, at any stop throughout my entire career. But, it would have to be, what does he go in as? It's hard for specialists, kickers and punters to get into the Hall of Fame. And they're, I'm trying to think if there's an actual, core special teams player that's ever been in the NFL in the Hall of Fame.
That's true.
Well, yeah, I mean, and that was a debate for a while, right?
Exactly.
And he was a returner and he owns all the records. So, I'm not one to sit here and say that he doesn't belong. I wouldn't, I definitely wouldn't be opposed to it. Obviously, I have a lot of personal skin in the game on this question, but
it's okay.
I'd say it's not likely, not likely based on, just what his career was and what he did. There isn't a spot right now. There hasn't been a spot for guys that were just exclusively special teams players. I wish there was, but I mean, there aren't even any assistant coaches in the Hall of Fame. You think about that.
Didn't even know that. Okay, good to know. All right, Mel, what do you think?
Probably not going to be a very popular answer, but I mean, I'm just going to keep it short. No.
Okay, fair enough. Candy, now, in fact, I'll go ahead and say this real quick. There may not be a spot in the Hall of Fame for him, but at least there's a statue outside the Caesars Superdome, which certainly is a good remembrance of what he did and how he inspired the city of New Orleans and what he's doing now with ALS. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah,
Candy,
I called the play, Scott.
Oh, did you really?
I drew up and called the play. Yeah.
Well, good for you. You definitely have a lot of skin on this topic if you called that play up. There you go. I don't know much about these reels things. One can only wonder if I ever figure them out. But if there's ever a reel, Coach John Bonamago called the play on Steve Gleason. Candy, we got to figure this real business out. Otherwise, I'm sure Bo can show us how to do it. We got some internal technical people that can do it. All right, Candy. Now you do have the last word on it. But before you do that, let's go to Carl's last comments. Well, Steve-O, journeyman, that's weird. Okay, I guess when it comes to Garoppolo. And then we'll go to the other 2 Olympic-based comments. USA is better at golf than any other country in the world. Okay, and USA is better at golf. Even capitalism can't stop it. All right, whatever. All right, now back to Candy. On to the Gleason.
So he played in 83 games in his NFL career, and he is accredited with 71 tackles. Is that enough? Is it enough that he had that he's known for one big good play? Like, there are so many different plays in a season that make up, yes, it inspired a city. Yes, what he's done afterwards and what he's battled with has definitely left a lasting impression on a lot of people. But is it Hall of Fame worthy? You can debate, like, should there be a special wing that, like you said, special teams wing, like, because like the same could be said for like baseball. Like, should the people that juiced or used, performance enhancing drugs, should they be in? Should they not be in? Should Pete Rose be in? Should he not? Because there's all these little things that we're going to qualify, because from what I would say about our society now is we have to categorize people. We have to put people in these categories. We have to, and say this and say that. And is he an inspiration? You bet. Is he necessarily Hall of Fame worthy? Yes, if you're going on special teams, like I said, but that's categorizing, and we nowadays have to categorize things. And maybe that's what the Hall of Fame should do, is maybe they have to have a special section that, like, we're going to categorize quarterbacks. We're going to do defensive players, a special wing for special teams, because it is a different skill and a different mindset, I think, doing special teams and that's speaking from someone that has never played the game.
Well, I guess the old consolation prize is, and many years ago, early in my journalism career, I actually went out there and I work with Arthur Ashe, and I saw him here in South Florida, and I wrote a story on being a most conditioned tennis player. And you know what? Arthur and I had a great time talking. Arthur Ashe was one of the classiest people I've ever met in my lifetime. So you can be associated with an award with Arthur Ashe. That isn't the worst consolation prize on the planet. I mean, Arthur Ashe, to me, is one of the greatest people I've ever seen, and I think this whole entire world has ever seen. If you can get to know a guy like Arthur Ashe and the way he does things, it's just unbelievable. But yeah, obviously, it's a specialty type thing that doesn't get him in the Hall of Fame. But between the statue and the one thing ESPN does get right, and I don't watch the ESPYs at all, but they gave him that award. Well, at least we can recognize Steve Gleason for some. No problem. Carl didn't understand your message, but it wasn't anything vulgar, so it was okay. That's why I read it anyway. So we'll just try to keep that real. Back in the 90s, there was a pop singer who said, "I want candy, LOL." Well, I'm sure that you can describe that many different ways. Hoffman does special teams. All right, I read it. Onward we go. But we're going to go to Candy for a station break. Anyway, go ahead, Candy.
The South Florida Tribune Publishing Company published a book. We're sponsoring this show. The book is Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. It is written by our leader, Scott Motor City Madmouth Morganroth. It is available on Amazon, Kindle, Barnes & Noble, Apple, and Google. We have a website, www.southfloridatribune.com, where you can see the transcripts from the Jags, the Dolphins, the Lions. You can see articles that Scott's written, pictures that I've taken. But most importantly, there is a store on there that has South Florida Tribune logo merchandise and Motor City Madmouth merchandise, where you can get, let's see, a t-shirt for those hot days or shorts. You can get a sweatshirt when you want to wear something a little bit more cozy. Go get your merchandise today. www.southfloridatribune.com. If you like to listen to podcasts, we are there. Monday nights is baseball. Tuesday nights is football. Wednesday and Thursday nights, any sports, including, you never know what we might be talking. We might be talking cornhole, table tennis, hot dog eating contest. You just never know. Tune in to find out what we'll be talking about tomorrow night. Scott also has a show on nofilter.net. It's called the Motor City Madmouth Show, where he interviews, one-on-one interview. Go check it out. Twitter @Tribune South. Back to you, Scott.
Well done, Candy. All right. Why is there a cap on Hall of Fame inductees? I don't really know if there's a really big cap on Hall of Fame inductees. The NFL's or the Pro Football Hall of Fame, they usually put more people in than a lot of the major sports is what they do. Baseball, to have to get in at 75% is undoubtedly one of the most difficult Hall of Fames to get in. So, and I've actually been a part of the Super Bowl many times where you have a lot of guys within cities that try to get their guy in, and it all averages out anyway. But that's an interesting question, Steve-O. All right, let's continue on. Two more topics, and if there's room for parting shots, we'll do exactly that. Josh Jacobs is 5 receptions away from owning the record for most consecutive career catches without a touchdown. And I repeat, without a touchdown. He's got 197 career receptions, 0 receiving TDs. All right, you know what, Bo? What's your take on this one?
On if he's going to set the record or.
Yeah, you could say that. I mean, you could go a lot of different directions on this one.
Yeah, I mean, it just means that, he wasn't throwing the ball when he was in the red zone. I mean, he's a running back, so I'm not that worried about it. But do I think he sets the record? Sure. I mean, you know what? He's pretty close to it. That being said, as a running back, doesn't really matter. It just means that the plays got close enough that he was able to punch it in rather than have to get thrown the ball. So, yeah, no, I mean, I don't know if that record really matters. I would imagine he would like to have caught a touchdown at some point, but yeah, I would venture to guess that he probably just ran it in.
You know what? I like to come up with some of these off the wall stats. I came up with one yesterday on 108 Stitches Baseball Talk from Miguel Rojas. The Dodgers were like 21-0 when he gets a hit in a game, and everybody on the crew, they looked at me and said, wow, I've never heard this one before. Because let's face the reality, stats are what you're going to make out of them anyhow. And when you see something that's intriguing, remember, my motto when we started these shows was our goal is to entertain, educate, and that's what we're doing is educate, even if it isn't the most obvious topic on the planet.
Stats are always hilarious because they'll come up with a stat for everything. Like it'll be Tom Brady has never won against a quarterback with green eyes that's 6'3" on a Sunday night. I mean, like they come up with the most random things. So, I mean, stats a lot of times, especially for ESPN or whatever that you want to make them.
Yeah, I've just got to be sharp enough to pick up the right ones is what I do. And for some crazy reason, this one just caught my attention. But you are so absolutely right, Bo. All right, Mel, being a running back, what's your take on this particular stat?
Well, I mean, I guess you can go a couple different ways. I guess you could look at it as they're calling plays towards his strengths, taking him out when it's obvious passing situations. He's averaging about almost 40 receptions a year. As a running back, that's not too shabby. I mean, that's pretty good. So you can look at it, they're protecting him because maybe that's something that he doesn't do as well, or that's poor coaching because you're telegraphing to the defense what you're going to do when he's on the field. So we know when he's on the field that he's more than likely not going to catch a pass, particularly in a red zone situation. If he's in there in that situation. So you're telling the defense exactly what it is you're going to do. And I don't think that's good. I think you should be able to go in the huddle and break the huddle in multiple formations, and everybody should have an opportunity to be able to catch the football. That's one of the things that I like doing when I was playing and when I was playing in the World League is, we'd go in the huddle and I'd be a tight end, but when we break the huddle, it's 5 wide. We had a coach called named Kay Stevenson. He loved empty backfield. He loved that empty backfield and just having 5 wide out there. So the one play, we could be in an I formation, no substitutions, break the huddle, we're 5 wide. So I think you're limiting yourself when you do things like that, when you're platooning guys, or you got third down specialists. And back in coach knows this, man. Back in our day, you had to do it all. You had to tote it, you had to be able to carry it, and you had to be able to pick up blitz protection.
Yep.
And if you couldn't do that, then you either weren't getting in or you weren't going to be on the team. Mm-hmm. It's going to be one or the other.
All right, Coach.
Well, definitely some strong points. I think the thing that jumped out with me about this stat is that you're not talking about really a young player. I mean, this guy's going into his 6th year. And so it is a very interesting stat, and however it's a lot, arrived to that, I think to Mel's point, game planning, self-scout, not paying attention to it, whatever. It's just it's a very unique set of circumstances that would allow a guy that's been a productive player and played a lot to to get to that point, because it's not like they don't throw him the ball. He does have a number of receptions. I think I looked this stat up. I think he was averaging like under 8 yards per reception. So, I mean, he's the check down guy. He's the third option in the progression. But shoot, if I'm Green Bay and I'm looking at this, the first time I get down in the red zone, I'm going to, have a play for him to make sure we don't break that record.
Well, geez, you can't go out into a more smoother than transition than the Wisconsin girl that has that big wide smile from all the way from South Florida to Alaska, Candy, about Josh Jacobs, your newest toy up in Titletown.
So he left the Las Vegas Raiders after 5 seasons. He was the 2022 NFL rushing champion, former Alabama ball carrier, comes to Green Bay with 5,545 yards, 46 touchdowns on 1,305 rushing attempts, and he has 1,448 yards on 197 receptions. He hasn't reached the end zone on any of his receptions, and he joins Gerald Riggs as the only players in NFL history with at least 147 receptions and no touchdown catches. Riggs played in the NFL from 82 to 91 and was a 3-time Pro Bowl running back for the Atlanta Falcons. But
he was a handful. He was a problem.
During an appearance on Bleacher Report AMA, Love was asked if he was going to let Jacobs set the record for career receptions without a touchdown. Love's response was, no, that's not going to happen. I definitely saw that the other day, and I'm surprised that he doesn't have any touchdowns yet. Let's see. It's right here. 197 career receptions, 0 receiving touchdowns. Actually, I sent that to him, and I said, bro, we're going to get you a touchdown for sure.
Well, I mean, now if you're a defender, you're watching him close, right?
Yep.
Because that means they're going to try and force him the ball.
I mean, the only thing I'm going to say about this whole thing is it would be to Jordan Love's best interest to make sure he does get a touchdown to show a multifaceted offense. And I've always been a firm believer if you have a good running back that can catch the ball, let him. They're another wide, what we call an offensive weapon, as they call it these days. All right, you know what? I want to go to the chat room. Thankfully, this question's only at me. Madmouth, do you think U.S. wins Olympic tennis and golf? You know what? I'm actually glad that you asked that question on tonight's show, because our fourth panelist that's normally on will not be on tomorrow. So here's what my opinion is on this. I believe that U.S. could win tennis. I'm not sure about golf because I don't know about the foreign players that are involved. And also, let's take note that Andy Murray, as I understand, is going to be retiring after the Olympics. So I hope I answered your question, Carl, that I do believe tennis, but I'm not sure about golf. And that will stay here on the pigskin. But that was actually a pretty good question that thankfully you guys didn't have to answer. I don't mind doing them once in a while. All right. Now, final topic of the night before we go to parting shots. QBs, new places. Drew Lock, New York Giants. Zach Wilson, Denver Broncos. Okay, Bo, Drew Lock, you're very familiar with him. Good fit with the Giants. And then you can follow it up by Zach Wilson, good fit with the Broncos.
Yeah, so I mean, I like Lock there. I actually would have liked if Seattle could have kept him. But, I think that Lock could legitimately take that starting job from Daniel Jones. There is, Jones was in a prime position to get his contract, comes off a good year that really hinged on Saquon more than him. And, I would bet that this quarterback battle is a little closer than most people would think. And then when it comes to Zach Wilson,
yeah,
I mean, he's probably a third stringer on that team because Sean Payton likes Stidham, and I mean they drafted their guy in Nix. So I think Wilson could potentially fall down to the third string guy.
All right, Mel.
Yeah, and you got Mac Jones too down in Jacksonville. They're giving up on these guys a lot sooner now. Zach Wilson, I can understand. But again, he was put in kind of a poor situation. It makes it very difficult, and his confidence is shot. But I was never really that high on him anyway. So they drafted him in a position that he probably should have never been drafted in, and then they put expectations on him that never should have been placed on him. All that's a recipe for disaster. Mac Jones, I think Mac Jones showed that he was very capable, but I just think for whatever reason they gave up on him. They've given up on him out there. Drew Lock and he's not gonna start. That's not gonna happen, because then that's an indictment on the folks that gave him the contract, and the people who gave him the contract are not gonna allow that to happen. It's not gonna happen. I mean, you can forget about it. They're going to justify. They're going to find a reason to justify, the reason why they gave him that money. So they're definitely not. Drew Lock is not going to start. He'll probably get an opportunity to play, but he's not going to start. Week 1. That's not going to happen.
Oh, week 1, definitely not. If he starts week 1, everyone gets fired.
Yeah, that's your point.
No, that's an excellent point. All right, Mel. So give me your take on Zach Wilson then.
I did. I mean, I think he was drafted in a position where he shouldn't have been drafted.
I see.
Based off of one throw that he made at his pro day.
Right. Okay.
I watched him play in college. He was a runaround kind of guy, kind of similar to Caleb Williams. Kind of a runaround kind of a guy, and didn't do a whole lot of stuff on time. Could extend plays and make that playground type throw. But wasn't really good on time. So we'll kind of see, and it's kind of similar to Caleb Williams. And then, because he was drafted in that position, there was a lot of the expectations were high, and he just wasn't that guy, and it's unfortunate. And his confidence got shot. And once you lose your confidence, it's very difficult to get it back. And the only way he's going to be able to get it back is through playing. And his playing time is limited now.
That's a good point. Okay, Coach, turn over to you.
Man, I like Drew Lock. I don't like Zach Wilson. I think but Bo brought up a good point. I think Drew has an opportunity to compete there. Daniel Jones hasn't been nearly what they thought he would be. And Zach Wilson, to me, I think Mel said it best with the confidence thing. I see a guy that's just kind of hanging on right now. I don't see a starter there.
And Daniel Jones is the same thing. I mean, he was drafted too early. So the expectation, I mean, I don't know I don't know what tape, and Coach, you can probably speak to this more than I can. I don't know what tape some people watch, but it seems like pundits start talking and they start talking these guys up. And next thing you know, I don't know, NFL owners or scouting departments, personnel individuals are looking at these guys as franchise type quarterbacks, and I just don't see it. I didn't see it in their play. Show it to me in their play. I don't care about the combine, how far they can throw the ball, how hard they can throw it, how they look getting off the bus. Show me in their play. What did the team do? If the team is not very good, then how can the quarterback be great? I don't understand that.
Yeah, I mean, you bring up a lot of great points, Mel, and I agree with you. I think drafting a quarterback honestly it's a crapshoot. Look how many of them bust. I mean, and look at how many guys that are kind of go fly under the radar end up succeeding. I just still think that, and Mel, you're right. I mean, people get enamored with what they can measure. Can he make this throw? Can he make that throw? But so much of the NFL game is dependent on how quickly the guy can process. How much information can he take into during the week? How can he learn? And then, is he able to take that from the meeting room to the practice field and then execute on game day? And then on top of that, what other position is more dependent on all the other 10 players around him? I mean, like we can have a, you name a great quarterback and you put him on an offense that has a porous offensive line and, you know, poor receiving core. There's
Archie Manning. I mean,
yeah,
Archie Manning.
Yeah, there's only so much he's going to be able to do. You know, I mean, if it's just so dependent, and the confidence thing is a huge piece of it. So many times, you know, we draft these guys early, and you know the pressure to win, and you know you're paying, you know, at least now you're not paying them the ungodly, you know, the big money, you know, like it used to be back in the day when.
Right.
You know, it's essentially now the rookie salary cap has helped some of that, but the pressure is still there. And the coach has to win. The scouts want to be right, and you know, you throw a guy out there before he's ready, and man, you know, he gets killed, he gets hurt, or he doesn't play well, and now you know, and these guys are human. I mean. They might not listen to the pundits and the talk radio and stuff, but they're aware of it. You know what I mean? Because they may not listen to it, but someone at home is. Their friends the friends are telling them about it. You know, and it's just a lot, and not everybody is. You know, not everyone is built for that. So I think a lot of it is being in the right place at the right time. I've rambled on too much, but
wow, no, you kid, you're
Oh,
going.
you're good. I mean, it's like JJ McCarthy. I mean,
Yeah.
People fell in love with JJ McCarthy. I mean, the guy did not throw the ball a whole
Exactly.
ton, and now you're going to expect him to throw the ball a lot. One thing about Patrick Mahomes, when Andy Reid drafted him, we knew he could throw the football. I mean, that one game against Oklahoma, he threw for 700 yards or whatever it was. So there's one thing that they knew he could do. He could sling it. Do you know if JJ McCarthy can sling it? I mean, really? Based on what he did last year or based on what he's done in college?
Hey, coach.
The guy can make all the throws. What does that mean? He can make all the throws. I mean, what does that mean? You can drop it in the bucket.
Look at Brock.
Make all the throws during the game. That's what's important, right? Can you make all the reads to make the throws?
And we you know, look at Brock Purdy, you know, Mr. Irrelevant.
Yeah.
I mean, again, is he a top 10 quarterback? That's debatable. I don't know that he is. But he's he's able to execute. Yeah, he's able to execute in that system, and they're able to win with him. And you know, they've won at a high level. I mean, and so there's something about him.
Let me ask you this, Coach. What makes him not top 10? Just because he wasn't drafted high?
I don't know. I mean, to me, it's the guy that can go lead his team to the most wins. So in my book, he's a top 10 quarterback. You know what I mean? But you won't have many people rank him above. Let's just take Haybear from the Chargers, right? Everybody's going to say that kid is a top 10 quarterback, a top franchise quarterback. Nobody would label. You know,
Brock
2
Purdy,
years ago would label Brock Purdy as a franchise quarterback. They still may not. If they have a chance to upgrade, you know, he's still playing on his rookie contract, right? So who knows what could happen.
Have Lawrence above him too.
Yeah.
And I can't say that I've seen more out of Lawrence than I have Purdy.
Hey, coach, let me tell you something. When you're elaborating like this, you know what that tells me? You're maturing as a broadcaster, man. You're supposed to elaborate. My gosh. When I first brought you on this format, I was lucky to get a sentence or two out of you. Now I'm getting this. This makes us proud here on the network with a guy like you who didn't say a whole lot, said a lot. Now all of a sudden, I got something back and forth with you and Mel. Hey, only in America. Don't get any better than this on Inside the Big Show. All right.
If they went back to the old days where they paid the running back, where the running back was the focal point of the football team, you wouldn't have to worry about whether or not you hit on the quarterback or not. You wouldn't have to worry about it. You get that guy that can tote it 300 times a year.
Yep.
You'll be okay.
Well, meanwhile, while you guys are going back and forth, Candy Evelyn's enjoying the banner back and forth on YouTube. Candy, is there anything that you can add that these two guys haven't mentioned? Because these guys are awesome, baby, as Dick Vitale would say.
So let's face it. When you start out playing football, there are how many high school teams, and there's scouts from the colleges that scout you as a high school quarterback. So if you impressed as a high school quarterback, you might be a college quarterback. There's less colleges than there are high schools. Again, and then there's less NFL teams. So part of it is the scouts and what team you're on that leads you to the path in the NFL. Because if you're not on a good team in high school and you don't do well, you're not going to get to the college level. And then you're not going to get to the NFL level. So to get to this level, you have to have some experience. Some scout has to have said, I saw you in a game and I really liked you and I want you. So you have to have impressed somebody at some point, whether it was partly because of the coaching staff you were on in college, the players you had around you in college. A lot of it the one thing I will always go back to is that football is a team sport and there is no I in team. It's not an individual. Yes, you are an individual playing the sport, but you have to have a complementary offensive line, the right running backs, the right receivers. You also have to be smart and quick because you have to read the defense that's in front of you to say, you know what, that guy's going to break this way, this guy's going to break this way, and, you know, if I throw it out, he's not going to get it. If I throw it in, it might be intercepted. You've got to know all those and be able to read. So you've got to be quick with your mind and quick with your reactions too, to be a really good, successful quarterback. Do I think Wilson's that? No, he hasn't proven it to me yet, at least at that, you know. But hey, give him a shot. Let him rotate through. They said they're rotating Stidham, Wilson, and Nix, and they're rotating them with all of the first team offense. That is a fair shot. If you rotate each of them with the first team offense, so you can see which ones stand out, which ones do better. Good luck. That's what I'm going to say.
All right. Now that you said good luck, why don't you talk about Drew Lock?
He's another story too. I mean, he's got a better shot, I think, than Wilson does at competing, and I think he's a better quarterback than Wilson. I'm always up for competition because that always makes everybody better.
All right. The only thing I'll say about this thing is, number one, maybe it was better that Travis Holmes isn't on this show, because when I saw Zach Wilson shred, and I repeat, shred Central Florida, and we know that Travis Holmes don't like that because that's his whole place of business and school. I thought Zach Wilson was going to be a real superstar. Well, the NFL is called humble pie. With that said, we'll drift it over to Drew Lock. I'm with you, Bo. I think he has a puncher's chance later in the year to become the starting quarterback if things go bad in New York. And you know why I say that? For two reasons. Number one, okay, I believe that Daniel Jones is on a short leash. And number two, Brian Dable could be on the hot seat if the Giants don't win, period. And there's another thing I want to add to that really quickly, okay? Many years ago, I stood on the field at the Orange Bowl when I saw Matt Castle. We were talking after the game when Iowa took on USC down here in Miami. I never thought I would be seeing a guy like Matt Castle playing pro in the NFL. So you never know where they're coming from, whether it's an undrafted free agent. And you know what? Here's another thing for a lot of you evaluators out there. That's why days 2 and 3 are the most important days of the NFL draft, period. All right, with that said, we do have time for a few parting shots. Bo, lead off.
Yeah, well, just to finish that last topic, people forget that Drew Lock was a high second-round pick, so it's not like he was, hidden somewhere in the draft. I mean, he was a sought-after pick by the Broncos also. So, in fact, we'll probably have this conversation, in a couple of years about the 6 guys that were in this draft, because everybody went high for some reason. But as far as a parting shot, KC has realized that Tony can't seem to catch the ball consistently, so they've been using him in running back drills. And from the videos of it, it sure looks like they're going to try and use him as a Percy Harvin type of gadget player as opposed to a true down the field threat. And that probably actually is good as far as Kadarius Toney's skill set, because he can make you miss. He's definitely a yak kind of guy. They just got to get him the ball a little bit sooner. And if he's on jet sweeps and flat routes, stuff like that, probably works out for his drops downfield.
Okay. Mel, parting shot.
I thought he would. I thought they were going to release him, so they're going to go ahead and keep him. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, because I mean they don't save any money by letting him go.
Yeah, I think he just needs to get on the jugs machine, man. You know, he just got to get out there and work. You know, that Percy Harvin thing. That what is that, like the wing? You know, that's like the Georgia Tech guy on the wing, and you know faking the dive and sending the guy around in the reverse.
Exactly.
That's not going to work. But I mean, I don't see it. But you know, you talked about these quarterbacks, and you know, obviously, with the number of quarterbacks that were drafted in the first round this year, there's going to be some guys that just unfortunately aren't going to make it because they're drafted somewhere where they shouldn't have been. Some of these guys shouldn't have been first round draft picks. I mean, truthfully, every team is afraid that they're going to miss out on the next Tom Brady, I guess, or even Kirk Cousins. I mean, I think people would be happy to find a Kirk Cousins in one of these guys. But every team is so afraid that that somebody else, that if they don't draft him, that somebody else is going to get him, and he's going to turn out to be that next guy. And it's just not, more often than not, it's just not the case. I think if you just stick to, whatever it is that you do, whatever your philosophy is, if you just stick to it, I think more often than not, things will work out in your favor. Like people talk about Dak. Dak was going to be a higher draft pick than I think he went in the 4th round, but he had that DUI situation right before the draft, and he fell in the draft because of that situation. Because of that, he was probably going to be a 2nd round draft pick. So I mean, Dak is he's a guy that is playing, probably obviously better than where he got drafted, but Dak is a guy that is going to get paid. And he's going to get paid handsomely because Jerry Jones just waits too long to pay his players. And if he doesn't get paid by Dallas, somebody is going to end up paying him.
So is that your parting shot?
That is my parting shot.
Okay, Coach, parting shot.
My parting shot is to the critics of Lamar Jackson. And kudos to Coach John Harbaugh for standing up to them and defending his quarterback.
Okay. That's good enough. All right. Now I like that. All right, Candy, you got a parting shot?
I wish I could go back to my employer and say, I'm under contract for 1 year left, but I want more money, or I want this, or I want that. To all these holdouts that aren't playing, aren't training because they want a better contract, a different contract, an extension, yet they're still under contract. You need to be at training camp. I'm sorry. Like, I can't do that in my profession, and I get the NFL is bigger, way bigger than my contract and what I make, but I have a problem with that.
Contract is one-sided.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah,
it is.
I can let you go anytime.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right.
No, exactly.
But yeah.
Okay. Is that it, Candy?
Yes.
Okay. Well, here, some breaking news just came in. Michael Gallup retires from the NFL. Wide receiver, played 6 seasons with the Cowboys. He's actually been placed on the reserve retired list by the Las Vegas Raiders. He's 28 years of age. Let's face the reality, injuries caught up with this guy at the age of 28. And as far as a parting shot is concerned, I know I recently read all of us say that Dak Prescott isn't playing for the money. Baloney. You are playing for the money. If you think I'm going to buy that, then in my opinion, I will go ahead and put 2 topics of corn. I will have 2 topics of cornhole on inside the pigskin, and that will never happen. Nothing against the people with cornhole, okay? And I like the Nathan's hot dog eating contest, but those topics won't be on. And Dak Prescott, you are playing for the money. I just have a feeling CD Lamb's going to get the bag before you do, and then we'll see where this leads on way down the line. So, I never really used to like soap operas, but I have to make a confession, and that's this. When I was in college at USF, I used to watch General Hospital, okay? And I actually built my classes around that because Luke and Laura were unbelievable back in 85 and 86.
Me too.
No, did you really?
In high school, and when I got to college, my classes were
soap opera. But I live by the philosophy that I have one life to live, and lately, with Candy being around, I've been living by General Hospital, but not for that reason. And as I go ahead and think about the fact that you have one life to live, nobody ever thought on Inside the Pigskin soap operas would be brought up. But, I'm in a mood to do it. But Dak Prescott, your soap opera, to me, is getting a little bit old, okay? And that's this, okay? That's your soap opera borders on The Edge of Night, okay? Remember that one go back in the day? Oh, I think that was a violent one too, wasn't it? So, you know what? Dak, Edge of Night, yeah, okay. I'm not buying it. No way. You are playing for the money. It's just a question of where you're going to get it. Is Jerry Jones willing to go ahead and overpay you like he did? Because he can't get many playoff wins out of you in the first place. So we'll leave it at that. Meanwhile, with that said, okay, Bo, why don't you let everybody know how they can get a hold of you?
Yeah, so you can find me here on Tuesday nights, and of course my channel at Football-Talk, and all the social media is Football Talk with Bo.
Very good. All right, Mel, let everybody know how they can get a hold of you.
All social media at Melfar Jr. And you can find out what we have going on here and also in Detroit at melfarsuperstarfoundation.org.
And I'm looking forward to getting up to your event next August. Coach Bono and I are due for a visit really soon anyways, but we're both definitely going to be at your event. All right. Nice segue over to Coach Bono.
Well, only social media platform I'm on is LinkedIn, but you can find me here on Tuesday nights and then on Wednesdays with Bo on Coach's Corner.
Well, that one matters, though. I'll tell you what, I live and die by LinkedIn. That's how I get some incredible guests. That's also how I met Mel and Coach Bono, and Bo and I, well, we connected on Twitter. Not so bad. With that said, Candy, go ahead and take us home.
This episode has been brought to you by the South Florida Tribune Publishing Company that published a book, Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. It is written by our host, Scott Motor City Madmouth Morganroth. It is available on Amazon, Google, Barnes & Noble. You can hear us wherever you get your podcast. Monday nights baseball, Tuesday nights football, Wednesday and Thursday nights. You never know what we're going to be talking about. Scott also does Motor City Madmouth Show on nofilter.net, typically on Wednesdays, but it will not be on the next 2 weeks. But you can go to our website, www.southfloridatribune.com. You can see more of Scott's writing, more of my picture taking, but most importantly, we have a store, a link to our store so you can get South Florida Tribune merchandise, hats, t-shirts, shorts, you name it. Go to the store, find it, buy something for yourself today. Tribune at Twitter or X is at Tribune South. If you want to advertise or sponsor a show, call Scott 954-304-4941. If you missed any of that, I wasn't talking too fast that time, but it's scrolling along the bottom, or just rewind and listen to us again. That's all.
Yeah, you know what? If she talked too fast, she learned it from me. So I'm guilty of her talking too fast. And I apologize for nothing. But I don't apologize for telling everybody, thank you very much for your participation in the chat room. I don't apologize for those individuals. What thing you want to add, Candy?
One more thing. Yes. Typically Tuesday nights, I'm on an all-females podcast. It's called Chicks and Salsa. We did not do one tonight because one of our girls has been covering the ACC network and their introductory, but we will be on tomorrow night, 7:30 Eastern, Chicks and Salsa.
Also, we'll be taking next week off. Candy and I will be out in Wisconsin taking care of business. So thank you very much, Feather Freebird. We appreciate that, but we will be back 2 weeks from tonight. So on behalf of Bo Crouch, excuse me, thank you, Melfar Jr., John Bonamago, our coach, and Candy Ebling, we want to thank you very much for joining us on this edition of Inside the Pigskin. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Have a great week, everybody. And we'll have a lot of hot topics when we return in 2 weeks. Good night, everybody.
Enjoy training camp. All those bicycles for Green Bay. Yes.